favorite. So we're gonna go on to our next and my favorite part of the podcast, where we talk about your current favorite piece of gear or plugin, something that you've been using a lot the past couple weeks. Doesn't have to be something new. Could be an old faithful. But what have you been really going back to lately?
I know I'm like super late to the party,
Who cares?
but I've been using a lot of Omnisphere recently, and oh my god,
Yeah,
like I didn't know what I was missing, because I mean everyone had always told me about it, and like I'd always seen people using it, and I don't know, I just never got it. I didn't feel like I needed it
Yeah.
for some reason. I think I thought it was like a hard synth, like Serum, but it's a sampler.
Right. Most
And
people like don't really understand that.
I didn't either. And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't need another Serum.
Yeah.
But I learned that it like has a bajillion samples
Right.
of
I mean,
like,
it samples like real Junos and real like Moogs and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, like it's, well, I mean, what doesn't it have?
Right, no, exactly. Yeah.
It's got all kinds of crazy things. And
have you gotten any of the like, I forget what they call, but they're like expansion packs?
I haven't even I didn't even know that existed. And
Yeah.
also I've like barely even made it through like 1/10 of the stock stuff.
Do yourself a favor and buy the expansion packs.
Okay.
Because they're like all the stuff that's in there were sounds that they made. I mean, they've updated and they've added more sounds, but now they're like doing these like, I forget what they're called, but they're basically expansion packs, and they're not cheap, but they are very worth it.
Really?
They're like, I swear by them.
Huh.
The only one that might not be worth it, they have this one that's like based around a nylon string acoustic guitar, but like also it sounds really good. And like I'll use it once a year, and I'm like, I'm really glad I have this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge Omnispheres fan.
Is it the expansion packs? Are they good because they just have so many more like new sounds?
They have so many more new sounds, and how they're doing it now, which is really really cool, is that like each sound, it's like they change how it looks in Omnisphere, where it's like you can tweak it much easier. Where it's like each new sound has like custom controls in each thing. So it's like, oh, this sound has like a delay on it, and like it'll have like a delay knob on the thing. But if the next sound doesn't have a delay on it, it won't have a delay knob.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then it's also, they call them like scenes, where it's like each sound will have like 5 different versions of the sound that you can quickly kind of scroll through.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I can't speak highly enough about it. It's like it's really.
And those are just official like.
Yeah, no, it's like on you'll see it, like you just go to Spectrasonics and like you'll find them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're there.
I'll check that out.
They don't call it expansion. They call it something honestly stupid, but they're all so good.
Yeah.
Dude, I love to hear that. So we're gonna go on to our next and final segment, our plug or unplug segment. For anyone who's a new listener, plug or unplug is a segment where I'll give Dazy here a plugin or a piece of gear, and he's gonna hit me with plug if it's something he loves, unplug if he's not into it, and bypass or inactive if you've never used it.
Okay.
And I'll kind of talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
First one, curious if you've used this one, Outputs Thermal.
Bypass.
Yeah.
Don't think I've used it. Isn't that a saturator?
Yeah, it's a saturator. It's like it's something that I'm like right in between plug or unplug. I so rarely reach for it, but the couple times I do, it like transforms the sound, and I'm like, like that's cool. I reached for now a very very similar plugin that I actually like better. Arturia's, it's like Distortion Coldfire. It's really cool. That plugin's really great. You might like it.
Really?
Yeah, it has like really extreme distortions, and like you can like make it like different, like left and right, and it's a lot of fun.
Sick.
That's a good one.
Nice.
To check out. This next one, I'm curious if you use it, because I've never used this, and more and more people have been telling me about it, so maybe I'll check it out. UVI's Falcon.
Bypass.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'm curious. Maybe I'll just cut this one out, but like, I guess it's kind of like Contact, and like everyone's like, oh, it's really good. It's got like a bunch of sounds and like.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
I love sample libraries.
Yeah.
Those are like, I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, so I think it's like that. Like, I've never used it, but a couple of people have told me like, yeah, you should definitely check it out and see how it is. So I was curious if you've used it. And like me, you haven't, which is one of the few, because I almost have every plugin. It's a real problem. Uh, next plugin, Baby Audio's crystalline reverb.
Bypass. Haven't
Yeah,
used it.
yeah, another good one. Uh, I have some presets made on it, but
Oh, really?
I'm one of their like artists on there, so I get all their stuff
That's
and make them.
sick. That's so dope.
Well, it's fine, but it's a really fun little plugin. It's like a reverb, but it's got kind of like an octaver in it and a couple other like cool features. My favorite feature on it is that the pre-delay you can set to the BPM. You can sync it,
Oh.
so it's like, for our listeners who might not know, like reverb has pre-delay, and like that basically means like how soon after the reverb kind of comes in for the sound, and most of them are in milliseconds, and this one you
Yeah.
can do it by like 16th or 8th or quarter.
Oh, that's really
So
interesting.
yeah, you can do some kind of like cool effects with it.
Yeah.
It's a fun little
Cool.
reverb for that.
Nice.
I know you use this one because you just mentioned it before. Waves Factory Track Spacer.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
I love
So
it.
are you mostly using it for bass and drums, or is there anything else you're going with
Oh,
it?
I use it all over the place for everything.
Oh,
And the general, like, I don't know, like rule, but like
yeah.
I use it just for things. I mean, what it's made for, like things that compete with each other.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's vocals and a synth that kind of is, or they're in the same spot, or vocals and a guitar, bass and drums, obviously, and yeah, I mean, you can even use it as like an effect, like a
Yes.
kind of a side chain
It's really
thing if
cool.
you really want. What I love about it is that you can do the low cut, high.
Right. You have a little bit more control on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You can be like, oh, I only want the low frequencies to like be cut out.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome.
What makes you choose that over a Soothe or a Pro MB or something?
Soothe, latency.
Fair.
And I don't know what it is about Soothe. I've never been able to like. Maybe I'm just bad at it. I don't know. I've never been able to like get it like exactly like how I want it.
I feel like you're like me. I feel like you're like a man who likes a simple plugin
I do, man.
and simple gear.
Give me two knobs
I'm
and
the
some
same
vibes
way.
and like a cool interface and
Yeah.
like we'll get
That's
there.
all I want. Like Soothe borderline has too much stuff for me.
Yeah.
But like I can understand what it does, but then there's like most plugins. I'm just like I want it to basically be a guitar pedal. Just
Yeah.
make it dumb.
I just think in general, being able to do things quickly, for me at least, it's so important because I want to get the idea out as fast as I can so that I can move on to the next thing.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And I just think like my personal creative process works that way, and it's like I want it to sound good fast. That's why I love making chains. I
Yeah.
love making racks in Ableton. And I love simple plugins.
Yeah, you love it. This next one, I noticed you had one in your studio, so I wanted to ask about it. And it's funny that you use the plugin version of it a lot, but Universal Audio's LA2A, the real one.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like it?
It's cool. It's cool. I've switched to the Tube Tech.
Okay, nice. Do you still have your LA2A? Or you got
I
rid of
do. I think I'm probably gonna sell
it?
it.
So, okay.
I liked it. I just didn't think it was versatile enough for like everybody to use, and I
Right.
sort of feel like the Tube Tech is that way.
Yeah.
We
just have a
not
lot
saying
more
the LA2A is bad at all. It's like it's goated. Like it
Right.
sounds so good. I just felt that sometimes it like wasn't the right thing for the artist in the room.
I mean, the Tube Tech you have like a little bit more versatility with it, where you can like change how the attack and everything is like happening on it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I felt that the LA2A, it has like a sound, whereas the Tube Tech could, but it also can not have a sound.
The Tube Tech is very transparent when it wants to be.
Yeah. And I actually really like that.
Yeah.
And I think it provides a much cleaner like starting point and palette for you to like build upon later in the box.
See, it's so funny. That's why it's like, and it's not like it's not that I have a dislike of the Tube Tech, but it's like it's why when I'm using an outboard piece of gear,
Mhm.
I want it to color.
Mhm.
So it's like why I love my 1176.
Yeah.
And it's like that colors it.
Yeah.
And it's like so I tend to like the outboard pieces of gear that I'm buying. I'm like, no, I want it to color the thing.
Right.
Otherwise, I'll just go right in. But I love Tube Techs.
Yeah.
It always sounds good.
Yeah.
It's like I don't do too much R&B stuff or like rap stuff,
Mhm.
but if I was doing more of that, I would buy a Tube Tech because that's what it sounds really great on.
Yeah.
I'm doing more like indie stuff and like pop stuff, and I feel like you can get away with having a little bit more texture in the vocal.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Which
we used a tube tag with Scenario.
Yeah.
On all
right,
all our
which makes
stuff.
sense.
Yeah.
You know.
So good.
All right, this next plugin, which I'm sure you know because you're a listener of the podcast, uh, we ask on every podcast. CLA vocals.
I used to use it a lot, not as much recently, just because I think I found like a chain that kind of works for me. You know, I use CLA bass.
CLA bass is great.
I use it all the time.
Yeah,
I use it all the time.
there's so many people who it's like I think like you get producers where like the CLA gets the stink for whatever reason, which I think is totally undeserved. But and then like I'll like start mixing a bass in the room with like other producers in there, and I'll put CLA bass on. They're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
So I'm like, CLA bass, man, it sounds good.
It's one of those.
Yeah,
you know.
and
I think in the right context, the vocal one can be too.
Yes,
totally.
Yeah,
it can just get that sound really quickly, which is like I said, it's one of the things I love about plugins is when they can just do it like really quick, and you're like, cool. Nice.
Whenever I'm usually never recording on an SM7, but when I'll get vocals recorded on an SM7, that's usually when I'm like, okay, this needs CLA vocals. Like I need to like hype that guy up a little bit, and have it do the thing. All right, next plugin, again for our listeners, is the last plugin is usually a very widely used plugin that most people should use. We'll see if that's the case with you. Soundtoys Radiator.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I use it actually quite a bit.
Yeah.
On drum bus.
Dude.
It's
amazing
sir.
On drum bus.
Yes, sir. I think I use the little one.
Yeah, little
maybe.
Radiator.
Actually, no. I think I use the regular one more often. Yeah, it's great, man. It's great, and it's based off of that outboard. What is the All-Tech?
That All-Tech one. That's on my buy list. I want to get one eventually. That preamp.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen one like.
They're super rare because mostly made in the '60s. And stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so good. Just throwing it on a drum bus, it gives like a little crunch. You can get a little. You can turn up the bass a little bit. I don't know. It just always very rarely doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Before I had all my out gear for my vocal chain, like Radiator was on almost every vocal I did.
Oh.
Just like giving it that like preamp push that I wasn't getting because I was going straight into my Apollo. And I mean, I'll still sometimes use it when like I want like a little bit more out of a vocal. I have like a little preset that I made years ago that is basically Soundtoys Effect Rack like preset that it's Radiator and Decapitator. And it's just like basically I'm pushing them a ton, but I have like the Effect Racks mix rack at like it starts at 2%, and then I just kind of like bring it into taste to like give it that like little bit of a saturation crunch, whatever you want to call it, on a vocal. That's my go-to for so long. I love any kind of saturator or distortion. I like doing the thing. I love when it has a mix knob because I like to push it a shit ton